Okay, let's dive into this really interesting idea, building a financial snowball.
Right, but not the kind you throw in winter.
No, definitely not. We're talking about like a growing pile of assets that actually throws off cash, generates income consistently,
Hmm.
and, April 2025 feels like a pretty interesting time to get started on this.
Why now specifically, do you think?
Well, the market's feeling a bit hesitant, wouldn't you say? A little nervous.
Yeah, there's definitely some caution out there.
But at the same time, interest rates are up. And that has this kind of unexpected upside, right? Suddenly, dividend stocks are looking, well, pretty appealing again.
That's a great point. For a long time, it was all about chasing that explosive growth.
Totally.
But when that kind of growth feels less certain, like maybe now getting a reliable income stream from dividends, that feels pretty tangible, pretty rewarding.
Right. Higher rates can slow down those growth companies.
Making the steady payouts from established dividend payers look, well, more stable. A safer bet, perhaps.
Exactly. So, okay, our mission for this deep dive today is to really get down to brass tacks. How do you actually build a, let's say, $100,000 portfolio?
Right.
One that's specifically designed to pay out dividends.
And it's important to stress, this isn't some get-rich-quick thing.
Oh, absolutely not. No flash-in-the-pan schemes here. We're talking about a deliberate, sustainable strategy, building passive income step by step.
Yeah, and if you think about the bigger picture, for you listening, it's really about building a greater sense of financial security, isn't it?
Definitely.
That predictable income can be like a safety net, gives you more options,
Yeah.
less reliance maybe on just your job income.
Couldn't agree more. So let's try and paint a clear picture. What does this $100,000 dividend snowball actually look like?
Okay.
We're aiming for that six-figure portfolio, right?
Yep.
And it's deliberately filled with stuff that pays out profits regularly.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine maybe a 5% yield overall. That seems pretty doable with a smart approach.
Yeah, 5% is a solid target.
That would mean roughly $5,000 a year. Break it down monthly, and that's about, what, $416 hitting your account every month.
And that's a good way to think about it. What difference could an extra $416 a month make for you?
Right. Maybe it's not changing your whole life overnight.
Probably not.
Yeah.
But it could cover a car payment or, pay for groceries, boost your savings. It just gives you breathing room, flexibility.
And here's the really cool part, I think. Once you've set it all up,
Done the initial homework.
yeah, it becomes mostly income for, well, not actively working for it anymore. Okay, sure, there's research up front, setting up accounts,
True, there's effort involved at the start.
but the ongoing effort, it's surprisingly low.
Yeah.
So, okay, what are the key steps we're going to walk through in this deep dive? How do we make this $100K dream a reality?
Well, we've basically got a roadmap. First, we nail down that $100,000 goal, make it crystal clear.
Okay.
Then, take a really honest look at where you are right now, financially speaking.
Step 2, got it.
After that, we tackle the really crucial decision about which investment accounts to use. That's key.
Tax implications and all that.
Exactly. Then, the fun part, building the actual portfolio.
Yeah.
Diversified, dividend-paying stuff.
Makes sense.
Then, harnessing the power of reinvesting those dividends. That's the snowball engine.
Crucial.
The discipline bit. Adding money consistently.
Rain or shine.
Yep. Keeping track of your progress. That's important for motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Staying calm when the market inevitably gets bumpy.
Don't panic.
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
And finally, actually remembering to, celebrate the wins along the way. The milestones.
Love that. Okay, so step 1, define your goal. We touched on it, but let's really lock it in.
Right. It's not just picking a number out of thin air.
No, it's about the outcome you want. The goal is that $100,000 portfolio built to pay reliable dividends, not just a hopeful punt on something going to the moon.
Precisely. That word reliable is doing a lot of work there. It shifts your focus, doesn't it? Away from maybe risky fast games.
For dependability.
Yeah, creating a steady income stream. And like we said, that 5% yield, the $416 a month, that makes the big $100K number feel, well, more real. You can see what it's done.
Less abstract, definitely. Okay, moving on. Step 2. Assess where you're at. Time for that honest look in the financial mirror.
Mm-hmm. And basically, there are two main paths to get to that $100,000.
Okay, what are they?
Well, path 1, you've got a decent chunk of money, a lump sum, ready to invest right now.
Okay.
Path 2, you're building it up gradually. Consistent monthly investments, plus reinvest in those dividends as they come in.
And knowing which path you're on is pretty fundamental, right? It sets expectations, helps shape the strategy.
Absolutely. So let's make it concrete. Imagine you're starting today with, say, $10,000.
Okay. A solid start for many people.
Definitely. And you decide you can commit to adding another $1,000 every single month.
Okay, $10K start, $1K a month in.
Now let's assume, just for illustration, an average return of maybe 8% a year.
And how do you get to 8%?
Well, it could be, say, the 5% dividend yield we talked about. Plus, maybe a conservative 3% from the stocks themselves, potentially going up in value over time. Price appreciation.
Okay, 5% dividend, 3% growth, adds up to 8%. Seems reasonable.
So with that scenario, $10 start, $1K a monthly, 8% average return. Guess how long it might take to hit $100?
I'm guessing faster than people might think.
You got it. Under those assumptions, you could be looking at reaching $100,000 in just under 6 years.
Wow, under 6 years. That really puts it within reach. That feels totally doable.
It really does. It shows the power of consistency and letting those dividends work for you.
And hey, what if someone listening already has more? Maybe they've saved up $50,000 or even more.
Well, then you're already halfway there, or even further.
That's got to be a huge motivator, right? Time to get serious and really lean into it.
Absolutely. That starting capital gives you a massive head start. The compounding can really start cooking right away. It's about knowing your starting point and using it to your advantage.
Makes total sense. All right, step 3. Choose the right accounts. Now, I know this might not sound like the most thrilling part of the plan.
Maybe not the sexiest topic.
But honestly, this is so important. It directly impacts how much of those dividend dollars actually stay yours versus going to, well, the tax man.
Couldn't have said it better. The tax treatment really matters. Choosing the right account structure can seriously boost your long-term results. It's about keeping more of what you earn.
Okay, so let's break down the main options. First up, the standard taxable brokerage account.
Pretty straightforward, this one.
Yeah, you buy stuff, you sell stuff, you get dividends qualified ones usually, and you pay tax on them, generally 15% or maybe 20% depending on your income.
The big plus here is flexibility, right?
Yeah.
You can pull money out whenever you need it. No real hoops to jump through penalty-wise.
Exactly. Access is easy.
But those dividends get taxed every year. That can be a bit of a drag on the Snowball's growth over the long haul. A slice goes to taxes instead of reinvesting.
Okay, then there's the Roth IRA. Now, this is where it gets exciting for long-term building.
Oh, yeah. The Roth is powerful.
You put in money you've already paid taxes on.
Post-tax contributions.
Right. And then, down the road, when you take qualified withdrawals in retirement, including all those lovely dividends, it's all completely
Tax-free?
tax-free. It's amazing, especially if you're, under 59 and a half and meet the holding period rules.
That potential for decades of tax-free compounding, it's huge. Every single reinvested dividend grows without that annual tax bite. It can lead to a way bigger pot of gold at the end.
Okay, last main type. Traditional IRA or maybe your 401k at work.
These are tax deferred,
Meaning?
meaning you might get a tax break on your contributions now. Your money grows, dividends and all, without being taxed each year.
Sounds good so far.
But when you take the money out in retirement, those withdrawals, including the accumulated dividends, get taxed as regular income then.
Ah, okay, so you pay taxes later instead of now or never, like the Roth.
Exactly. It can still be good, especially if you think you'll be in a lower tax bracket in retirement. But for pure dividend income focus in retirement, that tax-free aspect of the Roth is really compelling.
So quick guidance, if you're younger, say 20s, 30s, that Roth IRA looks really attractive for that long tax-free growth runway.
Generally, yes. Definitely something to strongly consider.
And if you're closer to retirement,
Then you need to weigh things up more carefully.
mm-hmm.
Look at your current tax rate versus what you expect it to be later. It's a more individual calculation.
Got it. It's about matching the account to your situation and timeline. There's no single best answer for everyone.
Precisely. Understanding these nuances helps you keep more of your dividend money working for you.
Okay, accounts sorted, hopefully. Now for the really interesting part. Picking the actual investments. Step 4. Build a diversified, high-quality dividend portfolio.
All right, the ingredients for our snowball.
And we're using a kind of 3-part recipe approach here, right?
Yeah, think of it like that. We need different components for balance and reliability. Diversification is key. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Makes sense. So, ingredient number 1.
The dividend aristocrats.
Sounds fancy. What are they?
They kind of are. These are the blue bloods of the dividend world. Companies that have not just paid, but increased their dividend payout every single year for at least 25 consecutive years.
Wow. 25 years straight of giving shareholders a raise. That's impressive.
It really is. It signals a super strong business solid finances, and the ability to perform through thick and thin. Recessions, market swings, all of it.
These are usually the big established names people recognize.
Often, yeah. Think Johnson & Johnson, J&J, Procter & Gamble, PG, Coca-Cola, KO, names like that.
Okay. Not exactly meme stocks.
Definitely not. These are the steady eddies. Their starting dividend yield might be, say, in the 2% to 3% range. Not massive.
So why include them if the yield isn't super high?
It's about stability and that growth of the dividend over time. They're incredibly unlikely to suddenly cut their dividend, even if the market tanks. Like someone joked, they won't stop paying just because TikTok is down.
Right. Reliability is the key characteristic here.
Exactly. Bedrock stability for your portfolio.
Okay, aristocrats make sense. Part 2 of the recipe.
Next up, high-yield REITs and utilities.
Okay, REITs are real estate investment trusts, right? And utilities, well, power companies, water companies.
Yep. These types of companies often generate really significant, predictable cash flow. And here's the interesting thing right now.
What's that?
Because of those interest rate hikes we saw in 2022, 2023, a lot of these stocks got pushed down in price. They might still be relatively undervalued.
Because they often borrow a lot of money, so higher rates hurt them.
You got it. Their business models are sensitive to interest rates. But for a dividend investor like you, a lower stock price can mean a higher starting dividend yield when you buy in. It's potentially a good entry point.
Can you give some examples here?
Sure. Think of Realty Income Ticker, O, famous for its monthly dividends. Or maybe Enterprise Products Partners EPD in the energy pipeline space. Yeah. Or a big utility like Duke Energy DUK.
And the yields here are generally higher than the aristocrats.
Typically, yes. You might find yields in the, say, 4% to 8% range, sometimes even higher.
Okay, so these add more immediate income punch to the portfolio.
That's the idea. They generate that steady, higher income, which is great for reinvesting and really getting that snowball rolling faster, more cash to buy more shares.
All right, aristocrats for stability, REITs utilities for higher income. What's the third ingredient?
Dividend growth ETFs, exchange-traded funds.
Okay, so these are like bundles of stocks.
Exactly. Pre-packaged baskets, but specifically focused on dividend stocks, usually ones with a history of growing their dividends.
So kind of like aristocrats, but maybe not as strict a definition and bundled together.
Sort of. They offer instant diversification. If you don't want to pick individual stocks or just prefer a simpler set-and-forget approach, these are fantastic.
Less homework required, maybe.
Could be, yeah. You buy one thing, and you own pieces of dozens, maybe hundreds of dividend-paying companies that meet the ETF's criteria.
Any popular examples?
Yeah, a couple of well-known ones are the Schwab U.S. Dividend Equity ETF, ticker SCHD.
Remember that one?
And the Vanguard Dividend Appreciation ETF, VIG.
Okay. And the yields on these? Probably somewhere between the aristocrats and the high yielders.
Generally, yeah. You're often looking at yields in the maybe 2.5% to 3.5% range for these types of ETFs.
So the main benefit here is the built-in diversification and focus on growth potential.
Right. You're spreading your risk automatically. And the fund managers are typically focused on companies likely to keep increasing those payouts over time.
Okay, so the magic happens when you combine these three: aristocrats, high yielders, and ETFs.
That's the plan. You build a blend. You get the stability and dividend growth from the aristocrats, the higher current income from the REITs and utilities, and the easy diversification and growth focus from the ETFs. Put it all together, and you can realistically aim for that blended portfolio yield of maybe 4% to 5%, plus the potential for the dividends themselves to grow over time.
Creating a portfolio that's hopefully stable, generates good income, and has room to grow that income.
That's the sweet spot we're aiming for. A resilient engine for your dividend snowball.
Love it. Okay, portfolio built. Step 5, reinvest every penny. You said this is non-negotiable?
Absolutely non-negotiable. This is the heart and soul of the snowball effect.
Yeah.
This is where the compounding magic really happens.
Explain that. How does reinvesting power the snowball?
Okay, think simply. You own shares, they pay you a dividend, right?
Yep. Cash lands in my account.
Instead of taking that cash out, you immediately use it to buy more shares of the same company or ETF.
Even if it's just enough for like half a share.
Exactly. Even fractional shares. So now you own slightly more shares than you did before.
Okay.
Which means next time the dividend is paid,
I'll get a slightly bigger dividend payment because I own more shares.
Bingo. And then you reinvest that bigger dividend to buy even more shares.
Which leads to an even bigger dividend next time.
Wow, okay, I see the loop. It feeds itself.
It's a beautiful, self-reinforcing cycle. Your dividend income grows automatically without you having to add any extra money necessarily. Your money is making more money, which then makes even more money.
It's like, yeah, planting seeds that grow into plants that produce more seeds.
That's a perfect analogy. Over years, this compounding can turn a small stream of dividends into a pretty significant river of passive income.
Okay, practical tip time. How do you actually do this easily?
Most online brokers make it super simple. Look for something called a DRIP.
DRIP, like water.
Yeah. Stands for Dividend Reinvestment Plan.
Yeah.
You can usually just check a box or flip a switch in your account settings for eligible stocks and ETFs. Once you do that, the broker automatically reinvests the dividends for you, buys those fractional shares, set it and forget it.
So it puts the reinvestment on autopilot. Totally. It's the easiest way to make sure those dividends are constantly working hard for you, maximizing that long-term snowball growth. Takes the temptation to spend it away, too.
Brilliant. Okay, step 6. Add consistently. Seems obvious, but probably crucial.
Cornerstone stuff. Absolutely vital, especially if you're starting from scratch or a smaller amount. Consistency fuels the fire.
This is about just keep adding money regularly no matter what.
Pretty much. Markets go up, markets go down, markets go sideways.
Yeah.
Your job is just to stick to the plan. Keep putting in that fixed amount, whatever it is for you, $100, $500, $1,000 a month on a regular schedule.
Like clockwork.
Exactly. Setting up automatic transfers from your bank account to your brokerage account can be a lifesaver here. Treat it like paying any other important bill. It just happens.
And this ties into that idea of dollar cost averaging.
Right. It does. Perfectly.
Yeah.
When you invest the same dollar amount regularly, you automatically buy more shares when the price is low.
Because your money goes further.
Right. And you buy fewer shares when the price is high. Over time, this tends to smooth out your average cost per share. It takes the guesswork and emotion out of trying to time the market, which is, frankly, almost impossible to do consistently.
So just keep feeding the snowball regularly. Our source even sketched out a little example schedule for 2025.
Yeah, just showing April, May, June, December, how those monthly contributions plus the reinvested dividends start adding up.
You can actually see the portfolio value ticking up, moving towards that six-figure goal.
It makes it tangible. Shows how consistent drips fill the bucket over time. It's that combination, new money going in plus dividends being reinvested, that really builds momentum.
Okay, step 7, track it.
Yeah.
Why is this so important? Is it just about spreadsheets?
Well, spreadsheets can be involved, but no, it's much more than that. It's actually a huge motivator.
How so?
Seeing your progress in black and white keeps you engaged. It shows you the strategy is actually working. It provides that positive feedback loop that keeps you going, especially when things feel slow initially.
Makes sense. Are there easy ways to do this?
Oh yeah, tons of tools now. Some are free, some paid. Things like ShareSite, Track Your Dividends, are popular and specifically built for dividend tracking.
Or even just a good old Google Sheet.
Absolutely. You can set up formulas to track portfolio value, total dividends received, maybe your yield on cost.
Yield on cost. What's that?
That's basically the annual dividend you're receiving divided by the original price you paid for the shares. As companies raise their dividends over time, your yield on your initial investment keeps going up. It's a really satisfying metric to watch.
I like that. And just seeing the actual income grow must feel good.
Hugely. Watching that monthly or quarterly dividend income climb, maybe it starts at $50, then hits $150, then $400, that provides a real sense of accomplishment. It reinforces that you're on the right track.
Yeah, tangible proof that the snowball is getting bigger. Okay, very important. Now, step 8, don't panic. This feels critical for any long-term investing.
Absolutely essential. Because let's be honest, the market will throw curveballs at you.
Guaranteed.
Dividend investing, as we've said, can feel a bit boring sometimes.
Boring is good here, right?
Boring is fantastic. It's not about thrills. It's about steady, reliable progress. It's about owning pieces of solid, profitable businesses that share their profits with you.
So when the headlines are screaming about market crashes or wars or recessions,
you take a deep breath. You remember the plan. As long as the companies you own are fundamentally sound, still making money, still committed to paying those dividends, you tune out the short-term noise.
Easier said than done sometimes.
Maybe. It can be. But panicking and selling during downturns is often the worst thing you can do. You lock in losses and miss the eventual recovery.
So what should you do during a downturn if you're a dividend investor?
Well, counterintuitively, market downturns can actually be good news for you.
Oh. everything's going down.
Because those high-quality dividend-paying companies you love,
Mm-hmm.
they just went on sale.
Ah, so it's an opportunity to buy more shares at cheaper prices?
Exactly. Your regular contributions, and maybe even your reinvested dividends, now buy more shares than they did before. You're essentially accelerating your snowball's growth by scooping up bargains.
I like the analogy from the source. Market downturns are like storms.
And storms dump more snow,
Yeah.
making your snowball potentially grow even faster, bigger, if you keep rolling it.
So reframe fear into opportunity. See dips as discounts.
That's the mindset. Stay focused on the long game and the quality of the businesses you own, not the day-to-day price swings.
Got it. Okay, final step. Step 9. Celebrate milestones. This sounds like the fun part.
It absolutely should be. Investing is a long journey. You need to acknowledge how far you've come, build in some positive reinforcement.
Why is that so important psychologically?
It just helps maintain motivation. It makes
Oh.
the process feel rewarding, not just in the distant future, but along the way. It reinforces the good habits you're building.
So what kind of celebrations are we talking about?
The source had some fun ideas, like maybe when your dividends first hit $100 total.
Pizza night.
Exactly. Or maybe when you hit $1,000 in annual dividend income, you treat yourself by buying one share of a company you really admire.
Oh, I like that. Using dividends to buy more equity.
Yeah. And maybe when you hit, say, $5,000 a year, that's over $400 a month, maybe you plan a weekend trip paid for entirely by your passive income.
Now that sounds like a great milestone goal.
Right? These little rewards, they make it real. They connect your consistent efforts to tangible benefits. It helps solidify that saving and investing habit.
It's not just about the big $100K number at the end. It's about building this passive income muscle and mindset over time.
Precisely. You're training yourself to see your money working for you, generating income even when you're slipping or, well, eating that celebratory pizza.
Fantastic. Okay, so wrapping things up here. The big takeaway.
Well, look, the absolute best time to start building that dividend snowball was probably yesterday or 10 years ago.
True for most investing.
But as we discussed right at the start, April 2025, it actually looks like a pretty interesting, potentially advantageous time to get serious about it, given where markets and interest rates are.
That combination of maybe some market nervousness, making dividends look attractive, and rates being higher.
Exactly. It's a moment where reliable income generation feels particularly valuable.
And the key message for listeners, you don't need to start rich.
Absolutely not. What you do need is consistency, patience, and maybe that little bit of courage to keep investing steadily, even when others might be feeling fearful. April 2025 can be your starting line.
So just start with what you have.
Start with what you can afford. Commit to adding regularly, whatever that amount is for you. And critically, turn on that DRIP. Reinvest every single dividend.
That's how the snowball gets built. Consistent additions, consistent reinvestment.
That's the recipe. That's how you get to that $100,000 portfolio, generating income for you down the road.
So the final thought is, just take that first step. Imagine yourself a year, 5 years, 10 years from now, benefiting from the choices you make today.
Yeah, picture that future you, maybe treating themselves to something nice, paid for entirely by the dividends you started building back in April 2025.
A powerful image. All right, lots to think about. Time to go build that snowball.